Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday Night Wars. This is WCW NITRO Week 13, Reliving the War. December the 4th, 1995. It came to you live from the Phoenix, Arizona at the American West Arena on TNT. This is the 14th episode of Nitro, but the 13th week WCW went at it with the WWF. I won't make you wait for the ratings. Nitro drew a 2.4, which is good, but not good enough. Raw drew the 2.6 this week 13. So Raw beat Nitro 2.6 to 2.4. That's a 0.2 victory. And now Raw has 6 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws against Nitro. So Nitro with 5 wins in the war through the first 13 weeks. And Raw was 6. So this Nitro that drew a 2.4 rating, which is a respectable rating, was commented by Steve McMichael, Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and again live from Phoenix on TNT. Nitro began with Bischoff saying that Luger or Savage will be champ after tonight and go into Starrcade in a triangle match. It could involve Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Luger, Savage, and then somebody else. Luger Savage will main event this world title this main event on this show. Eric says a lot of wrestlers are on probation after last week, including Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and the Giant, for their actions. So if they're interrupting more matches, there's going to be disciplinary actions. All right, let's kick things off with Harlem Heat, Booker T, and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry taking on the All-American males Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs for the WCW Tag Team Championship. Scotty Riggs landing a dropkick against Stevie Ray as Harlem Heat pummeled them to begin the match. Stevie Ray has a bad ankle, says Bischoff on commentary, and he hits a side suplex and tags in Booker T, who hits a high kick. Nice leapfrog by Scotty Riggs. On the outside, the Colonel and Sherry are exchanging gifts, so they decide to film that over the match. They decide to film Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker, who would go on to WWF to be Tennessee Lee. They're just exchanging gifts at ringside, and Sherry gets a ring from him, and they walk up the aisle, and they have a big kiss. Nonetheless, Marcus Alexander Bagwell is barely in the match. He's looking for a hot tag while the Harlem Heat are double-teaming Scotty Riggs. In the corner, they double-team Riggs some more. The big high kick by Booker T. They're cutting off the half of the ring, and they're isolating him, making frequent tags, and just dominating on Scotty Riggs. All of a sudden, Marcus Bagwell gets a hot tag. He comes in and he tries to hit Booker T, but he drops a side suplex and a crossbody attempt. A fisherman's suplex by Marcus Bagwell, and he tries a drop kick, but Ray holds him in the air and drops him to the mat. Booker T with the Harlem Hangover, and that's the 3 count. In the end, Harlem Heat win at 7:47. I rate the match 2.5 stars. Mean Gene talks to Sting and Luger that business, and Sting says that business is business, friendship is friendship. Sting says he's a friend and his best friend. He's going to come at Luger for the world title, perhaps because he thinks Luger's going to beat Savage tonight. Luger says he will be the new world champion, and he will beat Savage tonight, and he will be in the triangle match. So that's a lot of confirmations from Luger. Up next, we got Kurosawa taking on Sting. Kurosawa joins Sting in the ring as Sting was already out there for the promo, so he stays in the ring. Kurosawa had a good match with Benoit earlier, and he locks up with Sting, so let's see if Kurosawa can have another good performance. A round kick to Sting before an overhead wrist lock and then an arm wringer. Sting in pain, and he counters Kurosawa's armbar, and then Kurosawa countered it again and hit a big arm wringer just like he did to Road Warrior Hawk that broke his arm. A headbutt to Sting and then a set of chops by Kurosawa, but Sting fights back against Kurosawa. Sting slams his head to the horde with the turnbuckle twice. Sting with the Stinger Splash, then locks the Scorpion Deathlock. Stinger wins at 2:38. Sting is on a roll, says Bischoff. And they give that match a 1.5 stars. Starrcade promos aired as New Japan faces off against WCW. The Giant with the Taskmaster and Jimmy Hart take on Scott Norton. The Giant looks up with Scott Norton, who he slams in the air to the canvas floor. Giant with clubbing blows, dropping Norton. A side suplex by Norton, holding the Giant with an atomic drop, displaying great power. Giant stayed on his feet, but it was impressive, showing Norton's power. Giant sends Norton to the canvas with a chokeslam and wins at 2:43. I rated it 3/4 of a star. Mean Gene introduces the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and he comes up with Charles Barkley. Sir Charles and the Nature Boy, I gotta tear down the house, Flair says. Flair talks about the triangle match at Starrcade and how he wants to be world champion, and Barkley might be here all the time if you disrespect Nate. Randy Savage then defended the world title against Lex Luger, who came out with Jimmy Hart. Macho Man comes to the ring with belt, and it just looks proper on him. Savage and Luger one-on-one. Randy Savage goes after Luger. Savage chokes out Luger in the corner. Savage Irish whipped Luger into the corner. Savage nursing a bad arm, so Luger torques the arm and hits an arm and applies an armbar. Savage with a go behind and then leaped over and then hit him with a clothesline. Macho Man came off the top with a front face lock. Luger bashed headfirst into the top turnbuckle. They did some brawling around the ring, and then they come back in the ring, and Savage and Luger exchanged chin locks. At 13:36, Luger wins by DQ, but not the title, after Hogan and Flair get involved. Hogan goes to punch Flair, but Hogan has the mouth of the South as the bell rings. Sting comes to the ring and Hogan ends up leveling Sting, even though somebody was ducking, and Flair ducked. And that's why Hogan hit Sting. It was an accident, but Sting pushed Hogan. Hogan pushed back. Randy Savage separates them both. I gave the match between Savage and Luger 2 stars and a quarter. After the match, the show ends with Savage, Sting, and Hogan all talking to Mean Gene about whose side everybody's on. Sting and Hogan cool down, and Sting says he's on their side. It's just that Luger's Sting's best friend. So Hogan, he gives the example to Hogan. What if Macho Man was doing this stuff? How would you feel? Because he's Hogan's best friend in the story. So Hogan understands, and they shake hands. It's just Hogan has one decision. He has one choice he has to make. He has one favor to ask. That's the best word to use, favor. Get Lex Luger out of my business, and we're cool. And then Savage said the same thing, because Savage called Luger a rat from the beginning. And Sting says, I'll do everything in my power to get him out of both of your faces. So Hogan and Savage are cool with Sting. They shake hands, but then Bischoff and Heenan on commentary say that there's an undercurrent going. It's not as cool as they say. They don't know which side people are truly on. And you can tell Bischoff's trying to create friction and conflict between the main eventers, which is a smart move. He's trying to do long-term storytelling slowly, which is good. But you can tell there's just a lot of the brainchild of Bischoff was great here. He's just warming up to where he wants with the NWO, and how they book Sting around the whole NWO thing is just it's glorious. I can't think of a better word than that right now. I never used that word, glorious, but it is. That way they book Sting around the NWO. So I can't wait to get to those episodes. But these episodes, the prelude to Attitude, so to speak, are just as entertaining, because we know we know that there's a good ride ahead. Just like all the Monday Night Wars, it's there's just a good ride ahead. So it's a good feeling when you're watching these Nitros. It's really interesting to see how everything broke down before it got really good. So that's how the show ends. They preview next week. They're going to have Arn Anderson and Ric Flair against Savage and against Sting and Hogan. So Sting and Hogan are going to team up against the Four Horsemen. So this was week 13. Again, they lost 2.6 to 2.4. The record is now 5 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws through the 13 weeks on Nitro. I give this Nitro a 5 out of 10. I think it was just fair. I don't think it was anything better than a 5 out of 10, to be honest. I don't think there was that many good matches on it. The Harlem Heat match was decent, and the main event was decent, but it had the interference, and everything else was just filler. But it's good to see that they're progressing, and again, that end promo with Sting, Savage, and Hogan was good to see which side people are on, and the undercurrent that Bischoff says is interesting too. So just a 5 out of 10 this week, but they did draw a 2.4 to Raw's 2.6. We'll see how they do next week. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And like I always say, you can watch these Nitros, you can watch these Raws whenever you guys want to rewatch the Monday Night Wars. They'll always be there in the archive. So don't forget that. All right, I'm Brett Mixed, and I'm out.